Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Come to you live from our comfy couch here in the outskirts. It's the Gaming Saloon Reviews for May 11th, 2025 with your host, Peacemaker2448, and wrap it up, Salon.
Hi.
It's our last 4 episodes of Fuuto PI. You sound so excited.
Mainly because I don't want it to be done.
Fair. I wish I could just pick up from where we're at in the manga if it was translated and just keep going, but nope, that doesn't exist.
Of course not, because why would it?
Yeah. Writer side content that isn't like the shows, the movies, or like pretty much any of the video stuff just doesn't get the attention that the regular stuff does. But yeah, it's 9 through 12 this week. Any thoughts going into it?
No.
All right, we're going to kick off with episode 9, The Closed Cave, The Ultimate Two Halves of One. We pick up where we left off, where we're confronting the true wielder of the alcohol dopant, Grandma. Yes, it was the old lady the entire time, because she was in league with Museum back in the day, and that is why they're Scrooge McDuck rich. Also, Philip and family were at this estate before all of the Gaia memory nonsense. So once more we see Philip with green hair, which feels like a weird retcon to do to Philip, but all right, sure. But yeah, we get a plot dump about that. Also, the grandkid has no idea about any of this. He was just blissfully ignorant in his richness. Also, when the grandma's is like, yeah, I'm a special kind of dopant that, like, develops abilities outside of a monster form. Tokimei recognizes it as a high dope, so now the team knows what a high dope is. And her special ability is just, I have psychic powers. Has nothing to do with alcohol, just psychic powers. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be connected, or if it's just, hey, here's just a random power bolted onto the Gaia memory stuff.
Almost kind of just feels like random power.
Yeah.
Unless it's supposed to be a case of, you know, you think you're God when you're drunk usually, so...
Mm-hmm. But double kills extreme for this to make this fight real quick. They cut open a slot to get at the memory itself, and then Rider kick it, and Grandma's done for. Even though she's fine, she's like, I'm going down in a blaze of glory. So her and the butler set the place on fire, and so Double has to save the guy in Tokimei from the fire, and like the grandma dies in it. And so the two of them are out. So a lot of them are outside with Teruya and Scream with that fight for a bit until Brachio shows up, who's just a big giant skeleton Brachiosaurus. And this is where the guy who's been Aurora the entire time shows up. Just like, hi, I'm main bad guy of this show. You're not fighting me ever. Bye. And then we wrap up the case. We find out that the guy is like, well, I'm gonna go get a job now because I'm broke now, and the girls go off to party or something. I don't know. That's basically the end of the episode. Which takes us to episode 10, Superhuman R, a passport to Shadow Fuuto. We start seeing a guy try to escape Brachio in Shadow Fuuto. And then for some reason, we decide to flash forward, or we decide to be in a scene where Tokimei is at the fountain that she was bathing in at the start of the show, in order to flash back to the reveal that her dopant memory is Joker. And then we sort of flashback as well to starting the case for these 3 episodes, but then keep going in the press. I don't understand the pacing of this. This is the part that confuses me. Why is the reveal of Tokume's dopant memory a flashback?
Something. Writing something sounds like a good idea. Question mark?
I guess it feels like that should have not been a flashback. Especially because it's, hey, by the way, you remember how in A to Z we had dopants of all of Double's memories except Joker? Guess what? We are setting up for you to finally see the Joker version of a dopant. But no, it's a random flashback. They also chalk it up to be like, that's why Shotaro and Tokime have a connection of sorts, because they both have Joker. And I'm like, honestly, I'm willing to buy that, considering what A to Z did with the Joker T2 memory. Sure.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with buying that.
Yeah. The Joker memory has always been kind of an oddball, like, things just happened with it kind of memory, so like, why not? Anyway, the team has been hired by this kid whose grandfather has disappeared after taking a job from some big muscle guy to create a valve of some sort. And the guy disappeared in an alleyway, and so Terry and the cops and Shotaro and the gang are trading information to figure it out. And while they're looking for clues, Tokime gets like hypnotized for a second, and then she goes in an alleyway and she finds a card that ends up pulling her into Shadow Futo. And while she's there, she's like, oh fuck, I remember parts about this place and how fucked up it is. I need to go warn the team. And she bolts back to approximately where the office is in Shadow Futo. She manages to get through a portal. She tries to tell Shotaro and then what's going on, only for Brachio to just stick his head in, grab her, and start pulling her out. And Shotaro and Terry jump in, and I love how Philip also hops off like the balcony in the garage for just the shot of them, running to the side, transforming together. Even though I'm like, Philip, if you go in that portal, you're only going to cause problems.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a cool shot.
I know, that's the only reason he did it.
That's the only reason for it.
Yeah. But yeah, on the other side, they confront the big muscle guy who did this, and he's like, oh yeah, I ordered that valve, and I need to find him and Tokime. And then he reveals himself as the dopant reactor. And we end the episode with Tokime meeting Brachio's user, who is some kid that I don't think ever gets named in the episode.
Nope.
That knows her. He's just some random pervy kid.
Yep.
So what do you think of this first half?
We're doing the whole more questions than answers thing again.
We're doing a lot of that to end this show. Unfortunately, because it's like, yeah, we're still a part of an ongoing manga, and there's no a lot of answers we can give because they didn't give them in the manga, and we're not spoiling it, so we don't have to rewrite the entire story from the ground up if we get a second season. Oops. But yeah, it's those times where it doesn't feel like the show's over, but we only have 2 episodes left, and it's like, well, we've got to cobble together a finale somehow.
And they don't even really do that too good.
No.
Because we'll get there, don't get me wrong, but when your finale consists of we end it off with be sure to tune into the movie, that's not a finale.
A movie, by the way, that was not announced at the time, that we didn't even know about, that didn't exist for another... actually, let me double check this, because I forget when the movie even got announced. So, one second. Episode 12
Which is the movie essentially a retelling?
It is basically, from my understanding, it is the Skull backstory stuff from 2010 and the Skull backstory stuff from Movie War Core put together into one full movie. Basically, with some added bits here and there to make it all connect together.
So
then,
essentially a retelling.
Yes. And like Shotaro is the one telling the story to Tokime, basically. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, the final episode for Fuuto PI aired on October 16, 2022. The Skull movie was announced. God, when was this even announced? Let me pull up this file. What was this picture like added to the writer wiki? Since they don't have a date. Like June 2024. That is when the Skull movie was announced. So bear in mind, we like just saying, we end off transitioning into the arc of the manga that is this retelling of Skull's story and stuff. But we didn't know we were getting that for like 2 years. All we knew is we got 12 episodes and that was it. But yeah, shall we hit the second half then?
I guess so.
All right, episode 11, In Search of a Connection. So the kid uses his hypnotism powers because he has hypnotism powers alongside being a giant brachiosaurus. All right, to free Tokime, so he takes the card and he's like, I'm going to have her strip. And I'm like, okay then. Tokime does break out of this by just giving him a look, I guess, from powers she has, apparently. I guess. And then she runs off. But our riders try to fight Reactor. They put a dent in him after, for whatever reason, taking 5 minutes to explain the attack they're going to do and then doing it, and Reactor does nothing the entire time. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like how the rest of the show has been. This feels like stalling.
Because it is.
Yeah.
It is stalling for stalling's sake, but at the same time, doesn't Reactor just kind of feel like one of those that would be like, yeah, go ahead, figure this out. You're not going to hit me anyhow.
Yeah.
So that it weirdly works, but it clearly is stalling.
Yeah, he very much is the person who's like, I can tank that.
Especially because of the reaction after it actually does damage, where he's like, okay, I was not expecting that. Now you're gonna die.
Yep. I'm calling in our army of cannibals because, by the way, they have an army of roads because the road guy from earlier in the show was a failed candidate. These are all the right candidates, but yes, they still need to eat people to make the roads and stuff, like the base of this Shadow Fuuto. I don't know if all the buildings and stuff are still made of the same material.
I would like to think yes, just because.
If so, where the fuck are all of these people that they have eaten coming from? Shouldn't there be like a mass like disappearance problem in Fuuto because of this?
I mean, yeah, but we also don't know any specifics.
Yeah, we also don't know how big this place is.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know how many people one road dopant needs to do any amount of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So for all we know, all of these might have just eaten one person. over years kind of deal, and it'd be fine.
Yeah, because they keep talking about how they're like, we're steadily going to do this under the radar and not attract the writers. And I'm like, is that you admitting that they would kick your ass? Because it feels like you're admitting that, like, if the writers got involved, you're dead.
Yeah, I feel like that totally is.
But yeah, Shotaro and Terry hold their own for a bit, and then Reactor's like, all right, I'm sending you back home, and then has all of them make a portal and throws them back through. So now the roads are after the old man took May. The team tries to put together clues and stuff, try to figure out what to do next. Shotaro ends up finding the clue because at a shrine that the old man visits, he often leaves like small prototypes of the stuff he makes for like good luck and stuff. And he finds the valve that they made, which suspiciously looks like a heart. But I assume that's supposed to be on purpose.
I would say so.
Yep. But Tokime also manages to find the old man and strikes a pose because Shotaro has fully rubbed off on her at this point. But that takes us to our final episode 12, Death, and a whole bunch of ellipses. So the old man tells Tokime how he got here, which is to say he went to a nearby dam following our big reactor guy and followed him through the portal and has been running since then. So they go to where that portal dropped him out of in order to get back out, following a couple of reactor's goons. And this was when we find out that the valve that this guy made was for a cooling system for a reactor, because if he doesn't cool himself off, he will go kaboom. Small downside of his dopant memory. Unfortunately, he expected them to come back out this way, so they're about to be murdered. But then the riders show up, and they also trash the cooling system because fuck this guy. We're kicking your ass. We're taking this entire system down. I do appreciate.
Which, you know, I get the idea behind that. Trash it, and then hopefully he won't go ahead and, you know, turn into the dopant again.
Yeah.
Except for it, after this many times of them fighting dopants, you would think they would realize that all this is doing is dooming this person to death.
Yeah.
It's one of those, intentions are good there, but they either really hate this person or they didn't think all the way through.
I'm pretty sure Philip very much hates this person from the last episode, because he's like, you command these assholes who have been eating people this entire time? No, fuck you. You suck. You're dead. You get a special kind of ass whooping now.
I mean, fair.
But yeah, I also love that Wally shows up, which is is it like the Revolve Gunner? I think is its actual name. I just like calling him Wally because the head looks like Wally's. I appreciate he gets a cameo in this show. Even though none of the other stuff like him shows up in this show at all. Because we don't get any of the other extensions for the Heart Welder. But yeah, Terry fights the goons that are a couple of roads. Double goes extreme to take on Reactor. They plan out a plan A, and then he takes Tokime hostage, and they're like, do we go with the thing we used in our final episode? Yes? Yes. Well, not the final episode, second to last episode. My bad. Do we go with that? Yes? Alright, cool. So then they go double Prism Extreme to kick his ass and, like, send him off the dam to explode. Terry also handles the roads with, like, relative ease because Terry has not had to try this entire show.
At all.
No, Terry much like Shotaro and Philip most of the time, it's just like, no, I've been doing this for longer than you can imagine. You are chump change compared to the shit I've dealt with.
Which it's nice to see that side of it, because we never really get to see that.
Yeah.
We always get to see the struggle with writers in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice to see this whole dynamic of, yeah, the fight's not the real reason why you're watching the show. You know who's going to win. They've got the experience.
It's all the mystery solving and stuff, which, again, is still a part of Double's DNA as a show. It's just more of the focus than the Toku fights, which I'm sure disappointed some people.
I don't know. Double was one of them weird ones where really most of the fights, I'm not going to say all of them, but at least most of the regular case fights was pretty much like this, where the fight really wasn't the draw. It wasn't until we started getting into the meat and potatoes of the show that it actually started kind of feeling more that direction.
Yeah.
So that makes me kind of wonder, would we see the same thing if this did keep going? Because it almost feels like, from a story standpoint, we're almost in the same kind of spot.
I feel like I'd have to assume so, but then again, this is adapting from a manga, and the manga, I don't know how much real estate it has per fight scene, basically.
Well, I mean, regardless, even if the manga doesn't have much room for fight scenes, it could still simplify them down enough, and then an anime could extend off of that.
Yeah. But anywho, the Tetsugoons decide to try to run back through the portal, but then Reactor shows up, barely kicking, like, fucking nobody's leaving. I'm closing this portal, and I'm going to use an explosion to do so. And so he tries to blow everybody up and ends up on the other side of the portal, like, well, half of him does, because that's the only half that survived his explosion. And he dies in Aura's arm, being sorry, and Aura is also sorry because Aura actually likes his underlings, which is nice when we have a bad guy who cares about his underlings. But the bad guys decide to continue their plan and try not to grab the writer's attention, because they'll get fucked up if they do so. But back at the office, we get a little bit about Aurora. He was some CEO of some company doing stuff, and then he poofed, and then the Gaia Library has nothing else on him because it only covers this world. It does not cover anything beyond the Earth. So I guess it can't have any information on Helheim? Or alternate timelines? I guess?
Alternate timelines, definite.
Yeah.
Helheim could be a question mark?
Yeah.
It almost, which would, there again, fall in line with the show. It almost feels like it needs to be probably reworded. Anything that the Earth doesn't know about, Philip really has no information on.
Yeah, that feels more accurate. But now Tokume's like, all right, you keep like hinting at all this nonsense and stuff. Can I get the full story of like how this all started? And then everybody just has that look, and Shotaro's like, oh fuck, I have to be the one to explain it, aren't I? All right. We're gonna have a long conversation now, Tokume, and thus Tokume, or Shotaro takes Tokume back to where this show started, which is at the pier, to be like, let me tell you about Spingin's night, and I assume the rest of Double, even though that probably goes unstated. Since to end this last episode, normally, I believe we mentioned this in one of the previous two, the like last episode, like, eye catch thing is like Fuuto and Shadow Fuuto, but here it is actually the circle of memories and stuff that it is in the show, and it even plays the right sound effects and stuff, which I assume is supposed to maybe lead you into the series itself as a maybe continuation of this in a weird sort, since again the Skull movie was not a thing in existence or even on the radar for 2 years. So now you could go watch Double and take it as this is Shotaro telling her the story of Double.
Which would kind of make him typing up the cases at the end of the episodes kind of have a meaning.
Mm-hmm. Outside of just being a detective trope.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we leave off until we get to the Skull movie in 2 weeks. So how do you feel about Fuuto PI and it overall now, I guess?
It needs to come back and do more.
It really does. Like I have seen some a couple of 12 episode animes that I'm like, I'm okay with the show ending here because like maybe because like there's one show, Licorice Recoil, that I've watched where I'm like, okay, we've solved a major event that was the story of these 12 episodes. I don't need a second season of that. But then I look at another show, Princess Principal, where it's like, okay, the main conflict that started all this is not solved. I would like more. And this is on that. I would like more, please, because we've not solved the conflict that we started the show with, really.
And that's where I'm sitting with it. As far as if we didn't introduce another villain faction kind of deal, I could almost see this being fine as it is, because looking at it with everything with Tokime, it kind of creates a closed circle. We have this new story that takes place post Double, and by the end of it we're basically sitting there saying, okay, now go watch Double. So it's kind of making that closed loop kind of concept.
Yeah.
And I would be fine with that part of it if we didn't have everything else. We have everything else. It needs more. It needs to at least be able to finish its story.
I kind of would like Fuuto PI better if they decided to rewrite the show a little bit and take out all of the Aurora and all those bad guy stuffs and just keep Tokime and maybe also remove the Shadow Fuuto stuff, because it honestly doesn't fucking matter in the end. It's just set dressing. But if it was just about Tokime running into the gang, learning to be a detective, and like more about her journey over 12 episodes, I would probably like this more as is.
You could even kind of leave some of what's already there intact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we didn't introduce everyone else, if we didn't introduce Shadow Fuuto and all of that, mm-hmm. If we just said she appeared one day kind of deal, mm-hmm. She clearly doesn't remember anything. It wouldn't have changed anything on whether or not we were there right now or not, or if we met any of the others from there.
Yeah, they even confirmed that she didn't shove the Joker Dopont memory into her because she does not have the slot. Which I don't know if they've realized or not that, like, oh, you must have used a driver then, because I think they immediately go to, oh, it's maybe not exactly her memory. But I'm like, guys, you've already seen one person transform with the driver with the Dopont memory.
Yes, but usually with driver used memories, they don't tend to break the way they did there.
True.
So that would be that concept of you would have to know how the show functions in order to be able to even see that part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, because the way it's broken is it looks like she got hit by a memory break from them, which that's not possible because none of them recognize her.
The
But it looks
other
like
option could be we don't know enough about the new drivers.
Yeah.
They might also have a way of doing a memory break.
Mm-hmm.
But that definitely looks like it was broken that way and not just something happened with the driver and it caused it to do it. So maybe that's why they jumped that direction. But I think that comes back to the writers had enough knowledge of the show proper and they didn't think about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much it was a anime just doing anime things. It was a probably put too much thought into it and didn't realize that there could be people that haven't watched this be like, wait, but there's more than one way to use a come back here.
But yeah, I am glad that we've gotten the movie at least to try to continue the story. But again, we haven't gotten anything since then. So I don't even know if like a season 2 of the show is even in production. I know that there's a teaser for a thing at the end of the movie that suggests like, hey, we will try to continue this story because we wouldn't be showing this if we weren't.
Which, granted, anyone that knows how some of the longer running animes go, especially when they've got translations from mangas, it's possible that we are. It's gonna get another season. It's probably gonna be a case of they're trying to release it as like a normal show instead of an anime format.
Yeah, because I feel like the days are gone where you have something like One Piece or Bleach or Naruto that just keep running forever, or even Pokemon that just keep running forever, uninterrupted, they're not like subsectioned off into the spring, fall, winter seasonal releases of anime that are very common today. Because I don't think anything newer than them gets that treatment. I think they always are seasonal releases now.
Yeah.
Like you'll get your batch of episodes and then you're waiting, 6 months to a year for the next season of it. You maybe get a movie in between. Because honestly, this format of we got these 12 episodes and then we got a movie is not uncommon. Demon Slayer did that, and I believe Chainsaw Man has also done that, where they had their season of their show, and now they're getting a movie, and I believe Demon Slayer had more episodes after that movie. I don't know for certain, but I believe it did. So it's likely this can happen. We get more episodes, but that all depends on how this show and movie have done.
It more depends on how scared Toei gets, truthfully.
Yeah.
Because we've seen stuff that actually should have continued and they've decided to say, nope.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of boondoggling that has happened at Crunchyroll in the last, honestly, couple, year and change that has made a lot of anime production, like not just Toei, but other people as well go, maybe we put our stuff elsewhere. Maybe we stop and we not necessarily completely rely on Crunchyroll, but we place our bets elsewhere because I forget what it is. It got revealed that Crunchyroll was sitting on the license for something for decades and did nothing with it. And that one example has made many people go, how are they sitting on more? So yeah, that might also be a factor as well, at least internationally distributed, since I don't know how Toei's relationship with Crunchyroll is. I think it's rocky at best right now, because I think One Piece has went elsewhere.
I think it is rocky at best, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember hearing about Dragon Ball Daima being on Crunchyroll. I know I wound up watching it through Hulu.
Yeah, unfortunately, Daima's like Western distribution was a shit show, for as I know, because it's like, oh, we got the theatrical like first couple episodes, I think, early release, but then it's like, okay, where's the rest of the season coming? And it took forever for that to get confirmed. So, yeah.
But using that as an example too, that kind of would show that they could potentially even push this more to different platforms too.
Yeah. Hell, all of Macross except for the one Macross that Harmony Gold are desperately holding on to, because it's the only thing they have, is on Disney Plus of all places. Disney Plus, Disney's subscription service has anime.
I mean, guess what Hulu is?
Yeah.
There's a reason it's packaged in with Disney Plus.
Yeah, but this is like it. Even if it's just on Hulu, it's just like, this is specifically Disney Plus, because I don't think you get the Hulu stuff if you are on Disney Plus specifically and search for it. I don't think that's how that works. It's kind of sectioned off like that.
It's still weirdly segmented, but yeah, the mouse owns both.
Yeah. It just is one of those, like, there is anime specifically directly available on Disney Plus without getting into the barrier that is nebulous, that is like between Disney Plus and Hulu. But yeah, like that could be a factor as well. I don't know, because we've also not gotten a dub release of this series, even though Crunchyroll tries to do dub releases of stuff. There's no home video release at all of this. So I don't know. Fuuto PI is just in this weird, like, this exists and people are happy to see it, but is it enough to keep it going? I don't know.
I hate saying this, because I think there are people that probably would prefer a dub. I think this works best sub. And the only reason I say that is, do we have a dubbed version of Double?
Nope.
Meaning you're going to have to be used to subs in order to even understand the back end of this, unless they start retelling all of Double.
Yeah, like
So that's one of those I'm like, eh.
I'm trying to remember if Double is... I don't think Double is one of those that has that weird Southeast Asia English dub release. Because some shows have that weird Southeast Asia English dub release. But that's a super regional... Like, you have to go digging to find these English dubs. Because most people don't know that some of these English dubs exist. Like, there's technically an English dub of Wizard.
Yeah, no.
But it's not widely available is the kind of the thing. And like, it was also not meant for this side of the world. It was specifically for like Singapore and that region of Southeast Asia is where these dubs came from and who they're for, because they're also not that particularly good. But yeah, you'd have to like find people for this cast and probably keep them on if you double the series.
Because that's where the problem would come in. With Double not having a dub, that means everyone would have to get the original story via subs. And on top of that, via fan subs right now.
Yeah.
So I honestly am in the camp of this really doesn't need a dub. The home release thing is the question mark thing. Because why?
I don't know, especially when we have not one, not not 2, but 3 individual companies that have done current home video releases for Rider on Blu-ray. 3 of them. And you have not farmed it out to any of them? Which again, I think points back to Toei gets real pricey with Rider, which is why like Shout hasn't done anything forever. Discotheque has stayed to the Showa era, and Media Blasters has done the thing that they said they were going to do forever, and it took them forever to do so because their business got kneecapped when Right Stuff got bought. Since they are mainly a 18 plus anime distributor. So yeah, like I assume it's because the price for Fuuto PI is something stupid and Crunchyroll doesn't feel like doing it. Because again, Crunchyroll hasn't done a home video, or hell, they haven't even done an official release of Gridman Universe, I don't think, until maybe recently, I think. I forget. This is where I'm like, I have to check this. I might be wrong on that. There's still no home video release for Gridman Universe, but there's home video releases for Gridman and Diazenon. Oh yeah, no, they finally got Gridman Universe out the door. Eventually. At least on their service, but they haven't done a home video release. Never mind, this was after it got out subbed on a fucking airliner. But yeah, it's a much like always. Rider distribution in the West is a crapshoot at best, and we just take what we can get. But I guess any other thoughts?
No.
All right, in 2 weeks we will watch that Skull movie and talk about it, and probably have not much to say since we've technically done all parts of that on TGSR. We've done 2010 in core, right? For TGSR, yes. I feel like we. Okay. Yes. I was like, I feel like we had. I just don't remember when. But yeah, that is in 2 weeks.
I don't either right offhand.
I'm pretty sure we did core with O's when we did it. 2010, I do not remember. It might be old format.
It might be. But I don't remember right offhand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you're right on core being when we did O's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I bet we did 2010 when we did Decade.
That makes sense because it's the end of Decade. That makes sense. Because it's basically your finale for Decade, because oops, we didn't make a finale for the show, and oops, we advertised the wrong movie. So you get the hodgepodge of stuff that they did for 2010, where somehow the 2 crossover films that are specifically double plus somebody else, the double portion is the only good portions of those movies.
Yep.
But yeah, like I was saying, between now and then, Thursday, I'm doing more cat stuff. Friday, it is Cubage at Universal Studios. Hooray!
I actually like that way right there.
Saturday, it is Star Fox 64 Orlando. And then next Sunday will be TGS, where we'll talk shops on games and stuff. So if you like what you're seeing, drop a follow. Really appreciate it. Exclamation point YouTube, and chat gets to the archive that we have on YouTube, where this and all of our other streams are. Exclamation point social, and chat gives you the handles for all of our social media, so you know when we go live. Exclamation point Discord, and chat gives us like drop by, say hi. We'll see you Thursday, folks.